Hello, Blackhawks fans. Welcome into Season 3, Episode 3 of the Four Feathers Podcast. This one is called This Team Makes Us Drink. If you watch the Blackhawks at all this season, you know why. I'm Jonnie, joined by Ron, Luce, and Tony Marchese. Guys, good to be back on the mic with all three of you, despite what we're about to unpack here.
Like you said at the title episode, Jonnie, this team makes me drink, and we'll leave it at that until we start to dive into this thing.
Great to be back with you guys. It's been a long fucking time since we've been on these airwaves talking Blackhawks hockey. It was a long baseball season for all of us, I think, and it's great to be back with you guys. I think it's been since the last time the Hawks played because we took a little bit of a break this off season, and I'm glad to be back. I know you guys did an episode about a week ago. And talk through some season preview stuff, but I'm just glad to be back with Ron Luce on a microphone. I've seen a lot of Jonnie. I've heard a lot of Jonnie, but it's great to have you. No, I'm not bored of you, Jonnie. I'm just so happy to be back on a microphone with Ron Luce because he is one of my favorite people to do podcasts with.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I had the privilege of being on with Ron, so we have discussed stuff leading up from the kind of onset of training camp and then a checkup in the middle with some preseason action sprinkled in, but now we're finally getting into some regular season action here. Blackhawks are playing like it's fucking preseason. It's been brutal. 0-3-1 start,
they
boys.
They better in the preseason.
Let's just start there. What are your initial thoughts here from this brutal start? I mean, the players are feeling it. The coaches are feeling it. Fans are unhappy. It's not a good situation right now. Blackhawks have yet to be in the win column. They've yet to lead in a game. Things are bad on West Madison Street.
Yeah, they're really bad, Jonnie. It's not so great. Like you said, it's fucking embarrassing. And it just, guys, it has gotten me to turn on Jeremy Colleton.
Ooh.
Which I know Tony I know that just tickles your fancy.
I'm just going to eat this shit up, especially because it was like hours ago that you wrote an article about why Jeremy Colleton shouldn't be on the hot seat. You could find that over at OnTap Sportsnet. But Ron, you just wrote an article about him not being on the hot seat. You're saying he's made his way into your list.
He has, and the reason for that is, due to some traveling. I was out of town over the weekend. My cousin got married. I didn't get to really watch this team from start to end. It was just the highlights. I was like, "Ooh, highlights. Okay, maybe they didn't play that bad. I don't know. Kirby Doc's a bright spot. This is great." And then I got to sit down, and the only time of the game I got to watch was the third period. And that immediately made a day that I was already like, I'm back from vacation. Just worse, literally worse. And I was hoping to talk about a win, and instead I'm going to be sitting here and telling people why I think it's time, unfortunately, for Jeremy to go.
Ron, I love everything you're saying right now. It's music to my ears. I was in full preparation mode all day to come on here and talk to you about the article you wrote, why I think Jeremy Colleton should be on the hot seat. And, I prepared a lot of rebuttals to everything that you were going to say, and now I don't get to use them. So I feel like that might have been checkmate in my whole game plan here, coming in. I'm going to have to reevaluate that, but I didn't expect you to be so vocal about this. You mentioned you haven't watched a lot of this team play full games this year. And I said, I think they played better in the preseason, and there were some signs in the preseason that got me really excited. I think we talked about this as a group, the fight, the battle, the more physical style of play. I think I posed you guys a question with that. Do you think it's because it's the preseason and guys are trying to make an impact to make this team? And now that you're seeing this first week come through, first impressions is some guys took their foot off the gas from the preseason.
Yeah.
That's my first impression of this team.
Yeah, Tony, there's that. And then I think there's also an element of not playing with each other for too long here. There's a lot of new faces in here. So that is an element of it. And then you throw on Jeremy Colleton's system, whatever the system is. If you know, system means just kind of leaving chunks of ice open at free will. All that just combined. And it's just been a shitstorm to date. And, you saw it in the very early going. Talk about the season opener at Colorado. That's an uninspiring start, to say the least. You're down 3 before you can even wake up. It's just, I will give them credit. It settled down a little bit later in that game. They did pot a few goals. Power plays looked okay in some of that New Jersey game. They did come back a little bit at the end there, made a rally to force overtime and gain their only point so far. But then Saturday night was just a regression into absolute terribleness. I mean, I think the Pens had 4 goals and the Hawks had 3 shots after 1 period. So that was just El Brutal. Tony, you and I were watching. This is our first Hawks watch party of the year that we got together for. Yeah. Terrible occasion for it. We were just kind of talking with that thing on as background noise. That's what it became. And then tonight, you get into tonight's game. We'll dissect this one a little bit more, but you start off and you're showing some positive signs. They look good for the first period. I don't think anyone can take that away from him, and you still, sure, you wanted to score. I wanted to score there. I think the game turns a lot differently if they do score within that first period, but they did play a solid game. They dominated that thing in terms of possession and in terms of not letting up chances the other way. And they did that for most of the second period too. Obviously a bad play by Gustafsson combined with Stillman kind of lunging behind the net a little over aggressively, in my opinion, to let up that the first goal of the game in the second period. And then you saw how easily it can become discombobulated. The team faces a little bit of adversity in the third, and Dono snap. That thing is just gone, disintegrated, boys. It's fucking embarrassing. That's where I have to leave it at. So follow up from what we've just watched in front of our eyes tonight, this game against the Islanders. Let's kind of start there, and then we can work our way through some of these other issues, more overarching topics.
Yeah, guys, I mean, this is just ugly. And you said it too, Jonnie. I have a little bit of a hot take here, and it relates to the play of guys like Gustafsson tonight and Stillman. Is Caleb Jones missed? Because he looked really good in the preseason. That's a guy that I think this team can honestly use right now, because holy hell, I don't know why they thought bringing Gustafsson back was a good idea. And it's like he's rubbing off on the rest of the defense right now. Tony, I love, what you guys said about taking that, kind of foot off the pedal. And it felt like that in tonight's game, right? They took the foot off the pedal, Jonnie. You noted the good first period, and then all of a sudden they didn't look like the same team anymore. So I don't know what the hell's going on. And I'm going to bring that back to Colleton. How do you get these guys a little more inspired? Can you give a speech like the famous "it's fucking embarrassing" speech? Just do something. Yell at them. I don't care what it's going to take. Do something to get this team going, because they can't play a full 60 minutes right now. And there's guys on this team that should look a lot better than they have. You got to do something. And maybe it truly is to, for Stan to be, kind of swallow his pride and get rid of the guy that he truly believed in.
I haven't had a lot of opportunities to voice opinions about this team and the organization as a whole through the summer, because we weren't on these airwaves as much. But Ron, I'm going to take what you said and I'm going to take it a step further. For the casual fan of this team, and taking your foot off the gas coming out of the gate and not drawing up any interest in the city of Chicago, let's look at this as a sports fan as a whole, right? You just had the White Sox get eliminated from the playoffs. You had the Chicago Sky win a championship. There was some things behind that, and people rallied around this. This city is starving for another team right now to take the fucking reins and be that team. You've got the Chicago Bears out there getting their asses kicked by the Green Bay Packers, and Aaron Rodgers telling the city, I still fucking own you. The Blackhawks did a really fucking good job from 2009 through 2017 of owning this city and setting a reputation for themselves to be the team that this city rallies behind. It's opening night. I don't think any of us were there. It wasn't even guys, if this team was fucking relevant, we would have fucking been at the United Center tonight as a group. We would have made it fucking happen. That's where we're at right now. And when you come out of a preseason after your GM, Stan Bowman, goes out and makes acquisitions to try and salvage the last little bits that you're going to get of Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane, and you blow it in consecutive games in just embarrassing fucking fashion. When your organization has been in national headlines for all of the wrong reasons, it looks like you're fucking mailing it in right now. Tickets were $14 fucking to go to this game. Where are we at? Where is the accountability? Where is the product on the ice? You're losing a fan base that was so bought in to everything that was going on here. And it's systematically been destroyed at each and every single level to now we're at this point where you're going on 5-6 games into the season, and you're going to have to figure out ways to get people to show up, and you're releasing it's Marian Hossa night before your home opener even happens. And you know what? I want to show up to Marian Hossa night because I fucking love Marian Hossa. But this whole entire fucking thing right now stinks from the head down, and it looks like you're trying to play on the emotions of guys like me, guys like you, to go show up to arenas to see Marian Hossa skate around the ice for 5 minutes and watch subpar hockey with a team that you can't fire the coach on because the GM has put so much stake into public statements about it that you have Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane making statements about Jeremy Colleton's fucking system a week into the fucking season. Give me a fucking break, guys.
Yeah, Tony, just to talk about the state of how far we've fallen here in this thing. Not only were the tickets extremely cheap, and you could get those on especially secondary markets very cheap, close, inching up to game time here tonight. You also had the team booed off the ice. They're booed off the ice tonight at the United Center in their home opener. That's just kind of unheard of over the past 15
I'll
years.
ask you guys
really.
a question. Do you think Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane want to be booed off the ice in their home opener right now?
Fuck no.
As their contracts come to an end?
Absolutely not.
Do you think they want to answer questions about Jeremy Colleton's system, or do you think they want to fucking win? Like, what else do they have left in their careers? Like, this is a big fucking problem right now. Do something about it. Because bringing back the Orchard, well, it's cool and tough, isn't going to fucking get people's asses in seats. It's not going to fucking happen.
Right. Yeah. Tony, it's one thing that as much as everyone's frustrated, and I know the calls have been here for Jeremy Colleton. It's been a long time building. It was happening last year. It was happening. Yeah, it was happening the year before. I mean, let's talk about it. And I told Ron before we jumped on, I think even if this team started 2-1-1, you'd still have those calls no matter what. I don't think it's going to happen. Do I think it should happen? I mean, there needs to be some sort of urgency change here. But no, I don't think it's going to happen. So the only thing that can rectify this, guys, in my mind, is starting to win. That's it. End all be all. Win hockey games. Simple. Stupid.
Hey, winning cures everything, Johnny.
But yeah, exactly.
Winning cures everything.
Yeah, it goes back to that. That's all I've got on that. Ron, chime in here.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with you guys. Like, it's almost starting to feel like even if you brought in a new coach, is that really going to change anything? Like,
that's where I'm at, Ron. Because
yeah, like if
everyone wants to say fire Colleton, just like I want to say fire Nagy. Give me your best, insertion there. That's
right.
That's like what I want to hear.
Unless that coach comes in and just that maybe like sense of urgency kick in the ass this team truly needs finds its way, like nothing's going to change. Your attendance numbers are still going to suck. You're almost having to look, if you're Rocky Wirtz, maybe you even go higher than the coach. And I know you were kind of alluding to this a little bit, Tone, earlier. Maybe it is. Maybe it's time to truly blow this thing up.
Let's
and stop trying to hold on to the last few years of Kane and Toews to try and remain relevant.
And the worst part about that, the worst part about that is they're all bought in for this year, Ron. I'm expecting playoffs or bust still, even granted, this start sucks, but I'm still expecting it's playoffs or bust based on what they did. And that wasn't my just expectations of me being an overly optimistic fan. That's what Stan Bowman told me when he signed Seth Jones, when he traded for him and then signed him to the extension. When he signed traded for Marc-Andre Fleury, granted it was for nothing, but you know what I'm saying. You get the gist that I'm going for here. These moves, these guys that were brought in. He said that himself in his actions. So
Right.
that's on him.
And if these guys were performing to, I think, the level that most of them can, they should be a playoff team. They should be relevant. But like, why isn't Mccabe being the positive player? Was he truly just a really good bottom, 4 guy, or is he a guy that can truly be a top pairing guy? Was Seth Jones truly carried by Zach Werenski in Columbus? Like, is that a real thing now? And all of a sudden, you got the Werenski. Werenski is the same number in Columbus for Jones, and I don't even know if he has an NMC. Maybe it is for a couple years. Who knows? That's where it's starting to feel too, which is scary. We're the Vegas Golden Knights geniuses for just giving away Marc-Andre Fleury. Like, I don't want to talk about those headlines all season. I don't want to believe it's real.
I talked about this with Jonnie last night, I think, or 2 nights ago on the Marc-Andre Fleury thing. Is he bought in?
Out. It's a good one. That's a good one.
Is he bought in right now? Like, let's be honest with ourselves. If you're coming to your job every day and there were headlines about you not wanting to be there, and there were, your prior organization handled things poorly, there's debate about you retiring from the game, you're a well-respected NHL goaltender, you're coming to Chicago to play for Jeremy fucking Colleton? And Jonnie, you brought this up yesterday. He's fucking younger than you. And yes. Jeremy Colleton's pulling Marc-Andre Fleury from fucking hockey games a couple games into the year against his former fucking team.
Fleury partially did that to himself, too. Well, he shit the bet on it second goal on Saturday night. So.
But is he invested in this? Is he invested in Jeremy Colleton's fucking system?
A point to what you're talking about right there, Tony.
Yeah.
That it doesn't look like he is.
Is he invested in the system that fucks him in the ass every single time he goes out there and tries to fucking stop pucks because he doesn't have any defenders that can competently cover him? Is he worked into this? Is there a plan here? Where did Jeremy Colleton work with Marc-Andre Fleury over this course of time where Stan Bowman is out here saying Stanley Cup or bust? You've got a guy on a 1-year fucking deal to come in here and stop pucks in a system that he doesn't fucking know, and that Jeremy Colleton has yet to explain to any of us with any sort of level of competence to explain to us how it fucking works. So either he's got some fucking like magic book of this system that works, I don't know how many percentage of the time. I'm waiting for, it to normalize itself, because it looks like Marc-Andre Fleury goes out there and collects the rest of his contract and gets paid and doesn't have to care about going and winning a Stanley Cup this year because he's saving fucking face to make his fucking money. Is he bought in? That's the coach's job. Where's the onus on it?
Well, and Tony, I'm glad you said that too, because friend of the program, Tab Bamford, chimed in on Twitter and he said, I'm honestly wondering if there comes a point that Fleury walks into Stan's office and says, thanks, but I'm done. Pretty sure he didn't talk himself into coming to Chicago instead of retiring for this. And that encompasses it perfectly. Like, then you just start to look at this. You know what this starts to feel like then? Remember when the Marlins changed from the Florida Marlins to the Miami Marlins, and they went and got Ozzie Guillen, and they went and got all these really big free agents, and they blew it up at the trade deadline? That's literally what this is starting to feel like in hockey standards. Like, we're going to be the Blackhawks again. We're going to be playoff relevant. We're going to go get Seth Jones, Jake McCabe, and, Seth's little brother, because it's going to be a great storyline.
These are desperation moves by an organization that is desperate to maintain what it had but could not sustain.
Exactly.
You reached that peak success where you were relevant in the Chicagoland market. You reached that point where hundreds of thousands of people showed up and had a parade for you. And now, just, mere years later, it's $14 to get back into the game. I saw somebody online today pay $70 and sit like 8th row. Holy shit, man. I would have loved to have paid $70 to sit in standing room.
Amen.
In 2013. And guess what? On opening night in 2014, 2016, and 2011, after those teams won cups, it was hundreds of dollars to get into the upper level and hear that barn rock. And this organization has had every single chance to keep itself relevant. You've seen teams do it. You've seen Pittsburgh do it. You've seen Tampa remain like through this whole entire thing. You've seen Nashville do it. You've seen Vegas go on a little stretch here. There's just something wrong with the Hawks' ability to compete in the modern day market. I don't know what it is, but when you still have the same core of guys running things that you did years ago and less competent NHL level coaches, Jeremy Colleton versus Joel Quenneville, I don't know what to tell you. You're fucked.
That goes back to my point. We can sit here and go and bitch and moan about these problems all night, guys. And that's what we've been doing for the first 20 minutes of this podcast. And rightfully so. I get it. The only answer is to start winning. That is it. That is literally all they have. And the front office guys are banking, they have to be banking on the players and Jeremy Colleton to make that happen on the ice. That is literally the only way you go from here. The only thing you can do.
Yeah, I mean, because Jonnie, if it keeps up, like you said, this thing comes crumbling to the ground, and the Blackhawks are starting to creep back toward those levels of pre-Kane and Taves, where like you could walk up to the stadium the night of in 2003.
Yeah, people did that tonight. They mentioned it on the broadcast.
Yeah,
they were worried about having 4,000 extra seats, and there was a walk-up crowd. Well, of course.
Crazy.
Like there's still that enough fringe fan, but this goes on another year or two, you're not going to have those people. They're not going to walk in. I guarantee you over the next like stretch of games, things are going to get a little bit scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it again, it's literally like you said, it's starting to feel like that regression. It's starting to feel like the common hockey fan that, was roaring from, like you said, 2009 to 2017 effectively are starting to fade. And that will continue to happen if something doesn't change, especially when you generate this buzz entering the season at the same time that your compadres that share the stadium with you, the Chicago Bulls, do effectively the same thing. And sure, they haven't played yet, but basketball is enough of a sport where like you go out and do that, your team's going to be competitive. Like, in hockey, there is no guarantee, but everybody felt good. Easier.
Yep.
Yeah, less players and everything like that. One player can have more impact on a team. And then the Hawks go out and they do this, and everybody's like, ooh, okay, they're at least a playoff team this year, right? We all got ourselves hyped about that. Jonnie, you and I talked about it.
Stan told me. I didn't. Yeah. That wasn't me setting the expectations. No. That was Stan.
Right. But like, and even you could read between the lines of just the nature of the moves they made. It was, hey, we want to remain playoff relevant, especially when Kane and Taves are still here. And yes, they have pieces. At least I see one glimmering bright spot in all this is Kirby Dach right now.
Yeah,
continuing to evolve into the player that
does he remain with the team long term.
Oh,
he's a first round draft pick, so he's got to get traded at some point.
Stan's got a thing against his own first round draft picks.
Johnny and Tony, I will tell you guys right now, if that happens, I may need to go on like temporary leave from Four Feathers because I will absolutely lose it because he's like the one glimmering spot of hope right now.
Yeah.
That might I also add is on record that I said the team should take, and it's a little pat on the back. I like to give myself there, humble little brag, but nonetheless, like the one piece that you can build around for the future. Like he's that type of talent, in my opinion. And I think we're starting to really see that this year. I think he takes the biggest step forward on this team. If you can't build around that for the future, like, yeah, you can still be relevant with an older Kane and Taves if you've got that type of talent, but you got to get the right guys there and you got to get the right coach there. And that's where I'm going to reiterate. I think Jeremy Colleton can be a good coach someday. But like you said, when Marc-Andre Fleury is still older than you, do you have any business being an NHL coach? He was rushed to the NHL, and he was not ready. And that's on Stan. Tony, you mentioned before we got on your anger with Stan Bowman. That's on Stan, too, for rushing a guy that, sure, maybe he sees potential in, but was not nearly ready. Why would you do that?
Hey, sometimes bold moves don't work.
Yeah.
But I think the redeeming quality here is, I'll give you more leash, Stan, if you admit the mistakes and go get somebody in here to do the job the way it needs to be done. And let's talk about some of the organizational stuff that goes along with that. You've got a marketing problem. The Blackhawks have a marketing problem right now. They have a huge marketing problem. They had an expert marketing guy with a team that was also a great product on the ice. You don't have a great product on the ice, and you no longer have John McDonough's marketing mind behind the team. And for the Blackhawks to be relevant in a big market like Chicago, you're seeing the effects of both of those things happen at the same time. And it's hard to do it. And the only way to fix it is what Jonnie said. It's just win. So if you're not going to go out there and say that you've got the best product on the ice right now as an organization, there's your problem. It is Jeremy Colleton, and I consider him an on-ice guy. He's down there with the team. Is he what you're putting all of your faith in right now to lead Patrick Kane, Marc-Andre Fleury, and Jonathan Toews and develop young? Like, he came in with this sense that he's going to develop guys, right? Like, that was his thing. This guy knows how to develop young talent. Is Marc-Andre Fleury and Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane, which are essentially your cornerstones that you're booking this around, and Seth Jones and Alex DeBrincat in need of development right now?
No, this is a team that screams go win. Go be a playoff team.
Go be a playoff team. Then why he was brought in here to develop this team and the young guys, which arguably didn't happen because Chris Kunitz was skating 14 minutes a night. Is he the guy that you fucking want right here, right now? Trying to lead this team back to the playoffs where you can't even fucking sell tickets to go watch two of the greatest NHL players and Blackhawks ever skate on the ice on a fucking Tuesday night at a Blackhawks home opener? There's the fair question. And now, how do you capture the casual fan? That's where I'm at with this team right now. It's painful.
You guys have gotten so long-winded with this shit. I'm sorry, Tony, not to discredit what you just said. You go and fucking win. You rattle off 5 in a row. You create some buzz around it. And then, it's to your point then, too. It sounds like you want John McDonough back, too, if you really want marketing back up in the sky.
No, because now you've got other issues that, like, I don't even want
to. Well,
that's
what you said. I'm just going off what you said because you had their expert marketing guy that they let go of. So now it's all in the shitter. So
he was an expert marketing guy. You can't argue it.
So you got to bring him back, right?
No, you don't have to. You don't have to. I'm saying that's where the problem is with this team is you don't have those resources anymore. You don't have. You're bringing the orchard back because you're playing on Blackhawks legacy fandom. You're trying to draw back in the people that cared about this team for so long that you're going to start bringing things back. You see it with the orchard. You see it with Marian Hossa. You're trying to just capture anything right now. It screams desperation to me.
Fair. Yeah.
And desperate's a really good word for it, too. I mean, that's kind of where it's getting. I mean, and now, gentlemen, to your points, do we look, if they can't just win, because I agree, Jonnie, at this point, that's the only hope they have, because then you need to start looking higher.
Yeah.
You all of a sudden look at Rocky and say, hey, Rocky, you need to do something about this. Your team, the people you have in charge of it are not doing their job properly from head to toe. Do you start to look at that? And then there's pressure on that to happen, to just totally clean house, start over, and bring in a breath of fresh air. Because to Tony's point, they made McDonough's job easy. They were winning games, and then he was the mind that could turn it into the empire that it became. But now you don't have a good mind per se up there. And on top of that, you're just riding the Marian Hossa, the entire experience of that legacy because you're trying to distract the common fan from them not winning right now. I agree with Jonnie. It all comes back to that point. This team is at a point. It's either you start to win or this thing gets blown up like nobody's business.
Yeah, and I'm just offering, solutions in the short term here because this is just, it's go as of what we're at right now here, Tuesday, October 19th, after this home opener here, approaching, the midnight hour here. That's just where we're at. I'm assuming that Stan and Jeremy are still going to have their offices at Fifth Third Arena tomorrow when they're not going to be locked out tomorrow. It would be, I think, a lot of people would be happy in the very short term, and it'd be like a day of celebration for them if they were. Fix it. But at the same time, yeah, that's what I was driving at there. It ain't going to fix it. Winning is the thing there now. One last question on this before, because I do want to, we've talked a lot about front office and coaching, and that is all very pertinent. And obviously that's going to draw ire here when you start like this. But we do need to talk about players on the ice. But before that, just on this thing topic while we're here, I saw a tweet the other day and just sparked. I forget who it's from. It's someone on Blackhawks Twitter. So if you sent this out, thank you, dude, for doing it. But someone said, I missed the rebuild. And it was kind of played as a joke. But you kind of missed the rebuild because your expectations are tempered. And it was, granted, I think COVID did them a little bit of a help, there, as in the not having fans, a shortened season, the able to bring in some young guys and whatever. But do you miss the rebuild at all? It's so asinine to say as a sports fan, but at this point, with where we're at right now, it's a fair question.
It's asinine, but not totally to the point, Jonnie, where it's not totally off, because it is, at least in that moment, it felt like Blackhawks fans had hope. There was the hope that Kirby Dach is going to become what he is going to become. But there was at least the hope that there was going to be more guys there to help him, more youth. Maybe just something was going to click and they were going to take that whole next step forward as a team. And then they go and add stuff too. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, and it's like pulling into the end of a roller coaster, Jonnie. Yeah. We're just starting to, it's getting stale, still, and everybody's kind of sitting here going, what the hell's happening?
Right. That's a good point, Ron, because in the summer they did what everyone wanted them to do. If you wanted to be competitive right now. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are sects that are different that differentiate in the line of thought there. Maybe some people thought they should have stayed the course and not traded the, there's some people that like the, holding the picks, holding the young prospects, all this and that. But then the other people want to give it another go at Taves and Kane. And that's something that we've all talked about together too here. And it's like, you kind of had to do it. Yeah. Tony, I think you and I discussed that.
We did, Jonnie. And you know what? I'm conflicted. This is where I'm at with this fandom of this team right now. And it's a real crossroads problem. And I think I've been, as you said, long-winded on this. It's so sad to see. It's like watching a train wreck right now for me, where it's like you can't take your eyes off of it because you're so invested in what this team did for you. I mean, let's be real. As a sports fan, that might be the high that you get as a sports fan. That might be the first time, I'm not going to compare it to drugs, but I'm going to compare it to drugs. That's the first time somebody takes ecstasy is those fucking 5 years as a Hawks fan. And I'm always going to crave that the rest of my fucking life. And if you can't get to that level, I'm never going to be happy. So I'm always going to be searching for it. And the lows are so fucking low right now that I need a hit. I need a fucking hit of that right now. I need a fucking hit of it. And it looks like I can't fucking find it anywhere because I'm just dead broke. And I'm looking at Jeremy Colleton's fucking face every night. And I'm like, I have no fucking faith in you that you're going to ever be able to provide that for me ever.
Yeah.
Tony, so just fucking go. That's what I can equate it to. That's the only thing I can equate it to is we had such a high, and now it's like, dude, where the fuck am I?
It was top of the hockey kingdom, yeah. It was where you, yeah. So I totally get where you're coming from,
and I've got 60 more years of life left, and I'm just gonna keep killing Budweisers talking about this team. And just looking back,
chasing that again.
Are the Blackhawks the modern day Oilers?
I don't dude,
trying to still climb onto that high.
Sitting here talking about the fucking 2013 Blackhawks. Like you go to Chicago sports, it's like that is that era like our 85 Bears, where we're just going to be sitting here for the next 60 fucking years, going like,
we'll be
why can't we get back to
like
this?
that?
This is a real fucking question.
Yeah, it's are you ever going to get there? And unfortunately, there's no overnight answer here. I wish there was, but Tony, while an extreme example, I do think it's very, very impactful the way that you described that, because it is you got to the top and you were riding high for a while. A dynasty, you had a dynasty. You had the first salary cap era dynasty. That was something to be proud of, and that was something that made hockey fans out of a lot of Chicago sports fans.
And it's going to be, this is the part that I want to get to. It's going to be really hard to maintain that through people's lives when you go out and you put a subpar product out there every year. You're going to lose that fan. Those 15-year-olds that loved hockey in high school, it's going to be really hard to keep them through the next 10 years. And as a franchise, you've got a real problem there because you got them so invested. You gave them a drug. You gave them fandom. You gave them hockey. Oh, like fucking playoff overtime hockey, and winning hockey is a drug. It absolutely is. That's why we're sitting here talking about this on a podcast at fucking midnight. And now you're trying to figure out how to fucking like make money off of these people, so it's Marion Hossa night. That's where we're at, and it's very fucking disappointing to sit here and look at it from this perspective where you can't fucking win games. Your guy that you got in for free, and Marc-Andre Fleury, who's a world-class goaltender, is getting pulled against his former team. How do you get through the rest of the year? Why do you tune into Four Feathers to talk about this team? It's bad right now.
Yeah, it's bad. And I think we need to talk about why some of this is happening here. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, we talked a lot about the top, and we talked a lot about the coaching here and just general problems surrounding the Blackhawks. Well, guess what? The game is played on the ice. There's been some good, a lot of bad so far. So I want to get your guys' takeaways from, I know, Ron, you haven't been able to watch too much, but overall, just through the first, what you've liked from certain guys, what you haven't from certain guys, new additions that maybe are looking better than you thought or underwhelming you, or whatever it may be. It's time to air it out here.
Yeah, I think a couple guys that I'm at least very happy about, and at least I was happy about one of these guys tonight, a fan favorite of ours here at Four Feathers, and that's Calvin Haan. Was positive in all statistical categories. If you're a numbers nerd like me tonight, really, and he's been playing as a top pairing defenseman. And I call him a 3. I think right now because he's playing with Jones, and he's that defensive guy. Like he's taking kind of that Nick Jalmerson role of old, and it's beautiful to see. But Kirby Dach is the true bright spot, I think, for me in all of this. Obviously, 2 goals already, added an assist tonight. He's been the best player on the team by far and beyond, and that's great to see. But then, Jonnie, to your point about, what the new guys, like Jake Mccabe has been just absolutely abused these first few games.
I need to chime in here, Ron, just really quick on Jake McCabe, because you and I were both really high on him, and I still have high hopes for him. I do think he is a solid defenseman, but it's like The Office. It's Stanley with the chili. That is Jake McCabe and Connor Murphy as a pair right now. That is exactly it. You agree?
That's a perfect analogy, Jonnie, because it's like, yeah, it's just they're kind of falling all over themselves. Like there's the potential there, and it's like it's incredible if it happens. But yeah, like it's just kind of that fumbling right now, and it feels like kind of Seth Jones is fumbling, and obviously, yeah, all these guys have never played together, and they do need to gel. But it's like you got to figure it out soon, because like you guys said, then it's like you can only get so far into a hole before you can't climb out, and then it just affects everything else. So, he's been tough. Jones has been tough. Tyler Johnson's had his flashes, but like he scares me. At least the big guns have looked good for the most part. It's just weird because it's like you just expected so much more. Like the expectations were high because, like Jonnie said, Stan told us so.
It's like, honestly, guys, I'm going to say this. It's really hard for me to pick out any positives.
Go through negatives. That's fine.
Over the first few games, it's really hard for me to pick out positives, and I want to give positive credit. And I go back to something I said earlier this episode, the preseason. I had more fun watching those games than I've had watching any of these regular season games. And I messaged you guys about it. I said, I think this team has some extra fight. I think they've got some different mentality to them. And I want to see that physicality. I want to see the Hawks be a bully. If you're going to be a bad team, be at least a bully, right? Like if you're not going to make the playoffs this year, go frustrate people. Go do something that's entertaining for me to watch as a hockey fan. I'm having a lot of trouble finding positives here. Ron, you bring up Kirby Dach. One thing that I've noticed out of Kirby Dach is there's an incredible amount of scoring chances when the puck is on Kirby Dach's stick. He don't finish them. When does it come? A lot of people say, like, you keep getting the chances, it's going to come for you. I've seen that game with Kirby Dach so far through his entire career at the NHL level, where he'll burn a guy and have the puck on his stick and something just doesn't go the way it should. Guess what? I watched the same thing happen with Patrick Kane, and he finished those shots. I've watched that happen with Jonathan Toews. I've watched that happen with Marian Hossa. I've watched that happen with Patrick Sharp. When is this guy going to start finishing? So I just feel like there's just so much hope there. And I'm so broken on this team right now. And this is like a therapy session for me. But like, I just want to know when it happens.
Yeah.
When does Kirby Dach go off for 4 goals in a game because he doesn't have an unfortunate bounce or a fucking poke check? Because I've seen it on the other side.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of trouble getting there, but I think there was a lot of pressure coming into this. If I'm going to take any silver lining, last observations is, as Jonnie said, you start to string a few wins together. If Kirby Dach can figure out how to string together 7 goals over the next fucking 10 days, like, that would be amazing. And I'll eat my words. Jonnie, as you like to say, like, prove me wrong. Like, that's where I am with this team right now. Prove me fucking wrong, Kirby Dach. Go out there and score a hat trick. Fucking prove me wrong. But right now, at least to me, I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is just unlucky written all over it. Go get it done. That's all you have.
Yeah, Tony, and that's a very, like, fair frustration. Although, I think it's kind of the rest of the team bringing the bar down around him because nobody else is maybe getting that kind of quantity of looks. So you're like, oh, okay, well, at least you gave the Blackhawks their best chance tonight. And it's like, okay, was it really that good of a chance, or was he the only one just doing it? And there was that. But, you know, overall, though, Kirby Dach has been a positive this season. I agree with both sentiments there from what Ron had talked about. And then Tony, with you do want to see him finish. You want him to be that elite level scorer. I just look at and Alex DeBrincat, he had a breakout 41 goal year. Then he gets snake bitten and scores like 19 in the following year. And then he's right back to that. And I know they're different styles there, but hey, people may have doubted the cat during that kind of drop-off season, and he came right back and responded. So I'm hoping that can kind of be Kirby's breakout. And it's also just different, I think, playing center and wing there. But another thing, too, is just from a tactical standpoint, it seems like I understand he's like really long and lanky, so it's, puck's not always as close to him as it may be to a guy like DeBrincat. But I feel like he's moving extremely fast, which you have to do in today's NHL, but it may be catching up to him a little bit at the end where he can't get it exactly where he needs it to finish. So hopefully that is something that coaching staff, maybe not someone named Jeremy Colliton, is working on with them to finish there.
I've got one last positive to drop from this season. This isn't anything that happened on the Blackhawks ice, but I'm an avid NHL player on Xbox. And my favorite moment so far this season was I was in a online versus game against a guy who was playing with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And you know that anybody who's playing with the Tampa Bay Lightning probably isn't from Florida, and they're just on NHL to rack up wins. I scored a goal against him to go up 4-3 with like 3 minutes left in the third period with Philip Kurashev. And because I just had my headphones off and I wasn't in a party chat, you can actually hear the other person talking. And when I scored that goal, the individual on the other end of the receiving said, the fuck kind of creative player is Philip Kurashev that Stan Bowman just fucking figured out of nowhere and brought him here. And it was the best moment. I've been saving that one for a while. This dude was legit mad that Philip Kurashev scored a goal in that situation. And I was just like, that's the proudest I've been of the Blackhawks in forever, is that this guy is fucking mad online at 1 a.m. while I'm beating him in Chell on a Philip Kurashev goal. And he has no idea who the fuck Philip Kurashev is.
Yeah, you should.
And I'm like, there you go. That's Blackhawk legend shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of Stan's, European picks over there. You know, he just goes and picks them out, seemingly from overseas. But
there's some positives here.
Yeah,
like, there's my positives. I can frustrate people on Chell.
Yeah,
guys like Philip Kurashev.
So mine kind of coincide here. I won't go too long because you guys touch a lot of names. But Seth Jones, I've had just kind of there's high expectations, and naturally there is, just because he was a big acquisition, it was a big headline of draft day, that whole trade, bringing him over and then signing him to the long extension afterwards. So I expect big things, and they said it even on the ESPN broadcast that was pedestrian at best tonight, but they even knew it there too. You need Seth Jones to be your best defenseman, not just a solid defenseman. You do. You need to be your best. So I was really upset. Looked terrible in the season opener against Colorado. But I'll give him credit. He looked much, much better. And he looked like he was controlling the play. And he also destroyed someone as he was racing for the puck in the game against New Jersey. So looked much better there. Nobody looked good on Saturday night in Pittsburgh. So I can't give
Johnny,
him
I like big hits, and I cannot lie.
Yeah, exactly. And then in tonight's game, I would say for the most part, for the first 40 minutes as a whole, the team played okay. So you can't even fault Jones there. But once again, he's maybe not his fault, but he's out there for a goal against late, a couple of them against the Islanders in this game that ended up being 4-0 or 4-1. So it's like back down to the shoot with Seth Jones. So I just need to see that. You just got to prove that you're the number one. And I know you're not going to get it for the whole extent of the contract, but at least in the early going, this is your prime years. You got him in his prime. Well, let's go and see that more consistently. Already touched on Kirby Dach. Other than that, guy that I've just been disappointed with is Jake Mccabe, because I was so hyped for him coming into this year. I thought he was going to just be a solid rock type of defenseman. So I think part of it is Colliton's system, because that D, when they don't pick up those wings cleanly, especially when you're facing a fast team like the Avalanche, you get looking like Stanley from The Office spilling the chili with him and Connor Murphy. It happens there. Riley Stillman for the first 3 games, I would say I liked his play. And then tonight, not very good at all from Riley Stillman. A lot of people want to go and blame Gus. And that's another guy I think everybody can kind of be like, since you haven't contributed anything offensively, probably nothing positive to say about him, and especially him going to poke around the back of the net tonight. But everyone wants to go and just pick out Gus there. Well, guess what? Riley Stillman already had support behind the net, and he went to play the body there, completely taking himself out even more than Gus did. I don't hear anyone shitting on Riley Stillman there, but I'm gonna. So I know it's a whole team effort, and there's certain man coverages that are going on behind the net there. But shit, if Stillman doesn't overcommit on that, then you don't end up with that goal in the back of your net in the second period there. So that's what I've got from positive negatives here. But overall, from the first 3 games, I can't say too much bad about Riley Stillman until tonight. Seth Jones, an up and down thing. Kirby Dach's been consistently good up front. Power play overall been good until tonight. So let's hope that can help carry them. That's about all I've got from observations on the ice. Anything else before we get closing down here?
Yeah, last quick ad is just that maybe some of that Stillman and Gus stuff too shows that the Colliton system is broken. It's really hard to play man D in a league that has become so fast. I think maybe Colliton's system is old school and it just doesn't work in today's day and age in the NHL. Like maybe that's kind of what it feels like, because it was a lot easier to play man on guys back in the early 2000s than it is in today's NHL.
I think it has to do with the entries and where you're picking up guys, because the zone doesn't allow someone to pick up the puck carrier right away until they enter that zone where they're at. And if you're not set up, that's what it's trying to eliminate. So I get, with so many fast puck handlers in this league, I get the concept behind it, but you also have to have the personnel. And unfortunately, that personnel, they all have to be like between ages 20 and 24 for it to work ideally perfect, you know?
Yeah, you need that speed. Like you need that elite speed. And right now in today's NHL, like the Hawks don't have enough of that right now. They aren't the Tampa Bay Lightning or like the Colorado Avalanche who have that team speed. They just don't have it. And they can't, it just doesn't keep up with the system. And it's a flawed system for sake of the roster.
Guys, you hit kind of a point here. Like you're banking on some older guys to be your leaders in a system that doesn't work for them and might be outdated. I think it's hilarious that you called Jeremy Colleton the youngest coach in the NHL. His system's outdated. That's a red, like Twitter had like a lot of red flags going on.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it would be really hilarious if like it was like Jeremy Colleton is your head coach. Like just fill the rest of the other characters with red flag.
Yeah. No,
that's a red flag.
Guys, I think that, you know, Ryan, when you talk about that, I understand what you're saying about how it used to be, but I do think there's a shift back towards that. As long as you have the personnel, man is actually probably the better to play there. It actually is, but that's all contingent on you having the proper pieces in place. So you got to coach to your personnel. So that's where the disconnect is, in my opinion.
Systematic.
Yeah, I agree with you, Johnny. I think the system could work with the right personnel, but we haven't seen that yet, and therefore, you know, something's got to give. You have to adjust to your guys, and that's the mark of a coach that has a lot of promise versus a great coach. And right now, this team is in that position where they need that great coach if they're going to be competitive.
Yeah, guys, last thing, and we've talked a lot, and a lot of this has been contingent on defense and playing, you know, systematic defense here.
I'm just so happy that Johnny said this episode was going to be 30 minutes, and we are closing in on 52. So mission accomplished, everybody.
Absolutely.
We went longer than Johnny thought we were going to go.
Yeah, we're I mean, we're getting close to wrapping up here, but I got one last thing, because a lot of focus has been on defense, and easy to when you're letting up a lot of goals. But at the same time, you need to score goals at the other end. It just has not been happening very much at all. Overall,
where is
power play has been a little bit. There's just the issue of firepower not showing up, but there's also an issue of people that if you're lacking in offense, why don't you get another good set of hands in there instead of bringing in Mike Hardman? Let's deal with Dylan Strome. Thoughts on him, Ron?
Yeah.
Is he going to get a look? That's just where we're at right now.
I don't think he is. And Johnny, honestly, I think that's going to be because he's going to be traded. I think that's why he's not playing. They don't want him to get hurt. But even if it's not Dylan Strome, like Adam Gaudette to me is a better option. You know, he's looked good. He's looked okay. Do you give Tony, I'm going to tickle your fancy with this one, probably too early, but do you give Lucas Reichel a good look? He got goal and an assist on Saturday in their opener.
I love some Lucas Reichel.
You do. He is like your Gavin Sheets over at
He
Sox
might be.
on Tap.
Ooh, that's a good hot take right there.
There you go. You're welcome. But Lucas Reichel, I mean, a guy that has more skill, and sure, he's not ready, and I think that's why they won't bring him up yet, but maybe halfway through this season, once he gets, you know, a little more used to that North American ice, to your point, Johnny, that's maybe the more skill you get in there to bring some more offensive firepower and get this thing going. But you also have to hope and pray that he's that right time addition where, you know, him and maybe a small trade deadline acquisition can get you propelled in the playoffs because your big guys start to step up. So that creates an even bigger issue. It's like, yeah, they have a lot of firepower already, and you'd love to have some more, but you still need more from that other firepower as well.
Right. And just one comment on Reichel as we're on him is that Bowman did say that he's likely going to play games for the Blackhawks here. It's just a matter of when. They didn't know when. This is training camp talk. So I would imagine that, you know, things don't go as swimmingly as they should. And with the state that they're in right now, it could be sooner rather than later. But at the same time, this team also starts winning some games with pieces that are already here. I would imagine that's more of a let them develop some more move there. So that's the only context I have for a possible Reichel sighting.
You want to talk about something that might extend the podcast another 20 minutes? Let's talk about how Ian Mitchell was sent down to Rockford. You saw Eric Gustafson tonight.
Well, I mean, if Ian Mitchell's going to play 7-20, you're basically just playing with 5 defensemen anyway. So what the fuck's the difference?
Ian Mitchell's a guy that got some ice time last year. Ian Mitchell's a guy that
in the rebuild that we all long for.
In the quote unquote rebuild, in the quote unquote rebuild. But wasn't he one of the guys that was supposed to solidify this whole fucking thing?
I think you're forgetting that defensemen take like forever to develop.
Yeah, but what are we doing here?
Defensemen take like 4 to 5 years to develop, Tony. That's just what it is. That's what they're doing.
And maybe that's also
so where there was a giant shift in the organizational structure where it was okay. Ian Mitchell's good enough.
He was up and down last year too.
Yeah, I know.
The rebuild.
I think Ian Mitchell was improperly hyped up by Stan Bowman and gave fans unrealistic expectations that he was going to be an Aaron Ekblad or Cale Makar, one of these young elite defensemen, sooner than he could potentially be. I think the talent's there, but he was the fans are misinformed on the expectation for Ian Mitchell, and I think that's a big problem.
But Adam Boqvist is expendable.
Stan loves trading first rounders, Tony. Ian Mitchell's a second rounder, so he's safe.
Let's play the narrative more.
Kirby Dach's got to go. That's the only option. That's the only thing I drew from this. Then, if we got to play the narrative,
it's unreal.
This is where we talk ourselves in circles to the point where we've already touched on something like that. But that's how insane an 0-3-1 start will make you, especially when you have the aspirations that this team does, guys. I think at the end of the day, as we're getting,
if you're looking for overreactions, you come here.
You do say it is in the bio. Blackhawks analysis updates and hot takes. These are right here. Stan told us what this was, and it's time to start winning. And, Seth Jones talking about it, no doubt about it. We need to get back in win column on Thursday. So let's talk about what's up next for these Blackhawks. Can they get in the win column here? You have the Vancouver Canucks coming to town. It'll be the one cane ceremony on Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Central Time start. Sunday night, one of those great 6 o'clock starts, Detroit Red Wings in town. And guys, I mean, even these teams, it's like it doesn't look like the Blackhawks beat anyone right now.
They really don't look like they can beat anybody. And Vancouver, a team that still has a lot of talent, probably top to bottom, maybe has a little better of a bright future. The way things look, at least on paper, it's going to be a tough game. And you'd hope they can get the win column. The one cane ceremony, I feel like, is a perfect night that can happen on. Because it's not just them trying to hang on to the past. It's honoring a true legend that's currently on the team. Maybe they can feed off that energy and get a little streak going, because I think Detroit is a beatable team as well. Even though I know they believe they got the win against Columbus tonight, they're still beatable. Like, these are teams that if this team's going to take that next step, they should beat. So this is the perfect time to get something going, because at least if you can put a couple of wins together, then you're in a good spot. But Jonnie, I am very, 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 very concerned about Thursday night.
Here's my thing. Out of everybody we've played on the schedule so far, what Jonnie said, playoffs are bust. The only potential game we should have had some problems with was really the opening night against Colorado.
And tonight would have been.
And tonight could have been arguable up and down. And you haven't shown up for any of them since. I throw a ton of recency bias into this and say you've got problems against everybody right now because you haven't proven that you could win a regular season game so far.
Right.
Go out and prove me wrong.
Yeah, right. As I'm looking at it right now, 11:15 p.m. on Tuesday night here, Vancouver 1-2-1. So they've at least got a win in the books for them. Detroit actually started better than most thought, 2-0-1 for the Red Wings. They got some young talent. You got Tyler Bertuzzi scoring like 8 goals a game. So that's just just what you're looking at with these opponents. You got guys like Oliver Ekman-Larsson on the back end for Vancouver coming in on Thursday night. You've got those guys that were just signed, just paid. So who knows, that could lead into a drop off of production since they got it locked up. But either way, Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson, both guys that are nasty for the Vancouver Canucks. Guys, I'll be there. I'm scared. I mean, I'm excited for the cane ceremony, excited to get back to the UC for the first time since pre-pandemic. But at the same time, I'm kind of scared for what the result on the ice is going to be. Hope for the best, but you got to win now. And that's just, it's just got to happen. Seth Jones said it. Jonathan Taves said it, I think, in a little bit more eloquent fashion. Seth Jones is pretty much straightforward. We need to get a win on Thursday night. I'm fully in that camp. So, guys, unless you got anything else, we're about done here. So, final thoughts, and we can close her down for four feathers here.
Yeah, my final thought, Johnny. I feel like I've craved talking this little bit of the show. It's something that is so underappreciated, but I think we as panelists enjoy so much because it gives us something to kind of root for individually amongst us at Four Feathers. That's a stick to click for Thursday. And on his night, he's getting honored. Boys, Patrick Kane needs to show up and put on the S in the Superman cape like he did in the All-Star skills competition years ago and be Patrick Kane, because Lord knows if anybody on this team is going to be a true difference maker, Kaner's got to step up and be that guy right now and try and help turn the tide.
Hey, Ron, we've talked about this over and over again on the show. Patrick Kane has the ability to just do things that are special. And we've seen that from him for a decade. I love your pick. I've got to go Dominic Kubalik, though. Just because you took Kane from me. So there you go. That's it. Final thoughts, though, from everything. This is a live stream. Twitter changed some shit. If you want to comment, we'll throw you up on there. We had Kirk was in here earlier, Wesley Jass, Ty Foss. A couple people commented from Facebook or YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube at OnTap Sportsnet so we can actually interact with you during the show. I don't think we do many live shows from here. This might be one of our newer ones from Four Feathers. But I know, Ron, you guys did that from Cubs. Jonnie, we did that from Sox. We like interacting with you guys. If you want to have takes throughout the year as we do these shows, subscribe to the YouTube right now. Probably easiest way for you guys to get in there and comment on some of this stuff. We want to have that interaction with people who listen to the show and tune into this team the same way we do. It might be cruel to tune into this team every single night, but if you're tuning in here and talking to us, we'll watch it so you don't have to. Guys, it was a pleasure to be back on the microphone with you. I know I got long-winded on stuff. I'm mad at this team. I think you guys know
rightfully
that.
So. Rightfully so.
I'm so mad at this team right now for a lot of things, but it was good to talk it out. It was a good therapy session for me. Ron, it's great to be back on the mic with you. Jonnie, we just did a Sox show yesterday. It's always great to be on the mic with you. Let's go Hawks. I've had a couple of beers. We've talked it out. Feels better now.
Yeah. Henrik Borgstrom, stick to click. I was still in baseball mode there. Stick to click for Thursday night, as I'll be there. Didn't want to go too much and praise him too much because he had a decent game.
Does that mean I could take Gavin Sheets?
Up until that turnover in the third period that led to a goal against. But
get him on the blue line.
Earlier on in the game, Henrik Borgstrom looked okay against the Islanders. Is actually creating, had some nice passes to the middle there. So I'll go with him, get on the board when I'm there in attendance on Thursday night. As Tony mentioned, make sure you're going and subscribing on YouTube, on Tap Sportsnet. That is where you can go and find all of our shows across all Chicago sports teams. We've got us for Hawks here at Four Feathers, Cubs on tap, Sox on tap, Bulls on tap, Bears on tap. It's all there. We'll do live streams with shows just like this, breaking it down, reacting, having some fun, spewing some hot takes, all of that. And we can interact with you as well, as long as you comment via YouTube or Facebook on Tap Sportsnet. You can find us there. You can also find Four Feathers specifically on social media at Four Feathers Pod. And at OnTap Sportsnet, where there'll be highlights, articles, podcasts, all of that coming from both those accounts. If you enjoy the podcast, go give it a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen, because that is cool and fucking tough. Gentlemen, that's all I've got for tonight. Been rough so far. Stack some wins, and I think we'll be in a better place next time we get back on here. So, that being said, that was season 3, episode 3 of Four Feathers. Let's go Hawks.
Let's go Hawks.
Let's go Hawks.